So we just had another crazily good and high budget episode of Stargirl. Like from the very first scene, it's just so apparent how good the quality in this show is. It really is like a HBO show. I love it. But real quick before getting into this review, I just want to ask if you can subscribe if you're not already. I make DC and Marvel videos every single week, so new subs really do help to keep up the motivation to make new videos. But yeah, this episode was kind of all about Jade or Jennifer or Jenny or whatever you want to call her, but Green Lantern's daughter. So this was kind of back to the, I guess, what a lot of last season did, which was last season would have almost every episode would be focused on one particular character. Like we would have an episode focused on Iron Man, we'd have an episode focused on Beth, we'd have an episode focused on Yolanda, on Henry, on all of the various characters, and this one was very much focused on Jade or Green Lantern's daughter, and it was really good. I really like the focus. I'm really actually liking the character. All we had to see of her so far was the fight scene from last episode, which there was pretty much no fight scenes this episode, but it didn't feel like that. Like the episode flew by. I actually was very surprised when I noticed that the episode was almost over. I was like, wow, it doesn't feel like it's been 40 minutes. So that's really a testament to how good this show is, and I'm just really liking the character of Jade. I can't wait for her to properly join the JSA. She's learning her powers very quickly. I also loved how she was like, Pat or Stripesy is a legend, because I felt like Stripesy or Pat in general just did not get the respect he deserved last season. Like I really felt like he was just kind of got pushed around by a lot of the characters. It was very apparent from the pilot that in the JSA, Pat was just not really respected at all. Like from the point where Pat's like, I'll try and take on the staff, and Starman's just like, no, not you, anyone but you, anyone but you. It's like, okay, we get it. You don't got to be addicted to Pat on death's door, Starman. And I like that Jade is one of the first characters to be like, you're a legend, you deserve respect, sort of thing. So that was really great as well. Speaking of Jade, we got a really cool tease towards Todd, aka her brother, aka Todd Rice, who is the superhero Obsidian in the comics. Now you might actually recognize Obsidian because he appeared in Legends of Tomorrow in season 2 when we saw the JSA in season 2, which was peak Legends of Tomorrow in my opinion. But Obsidian or Todd Rice was in it. We didn't get to see much of him at all. It was just kind of like little bits there. Kind of the only members of the JSA in that season that got a lot, like that we got a lot to see was Steele's dad, and then Our Man, Vixen, and that was kind of it. A little bit of Dr. Mid-Nite later on in the season, a little bit of Stargirl later on in the season, but characters like Obsidian were just kind of we got to see their powers once or twice in one of the big fights, and that was it. But Obsidian as a character just has gotten really nothing to do in live action, or just nothing in general in DC, like outside of the comics. So I'm really excited to see him show up. Plus, it seems like they're setting him up to be another member of the JSA. Like whenever Jade finds him, I could really see him becoming also a member of the JSA, which I love this, that we really are getting a present day version of the JSA, like a big version. I think in a couple seasons it's going to be really cool when we have like a full team lineup. It's going to be awesome. It's also going to be really cool to parallel this when we see the actual original JSA in the upcoming flashback episode. So I'm just honestly think that when it comes to things like this with characters that outside of the comics haven't been showcased very well, Stargirl is doing an amazing job. Like I don't think Jade has been in anything live action yet. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I can't think of anything she's been in. So I'm really excited to see her as well, especially since she's already learning her powers so well. I also was just very happy that Pat was so on board to train her so fast. It really is kind of a turnaround from what happened last season, where Pat was like very apprehensive to train any of the characters. He was like, look, you guys gotta just stop this. This is dangerous life. I watched my entire team get killed. I don't want that happen to you guys. So just stay out of this life. Whereas now he's like, okay, yeah, first thing in the morning, we're going to go down, we're going to find out what the ring can do, we're going to see if you can do it. Speaking of the ring, the effects on that look awesome. I love when she was kind of making the construct of the car. I thought it looked really cool, really good. I also like how the car is kind of a parallel to how Rick only has the car as like a reminder of his father. So it's kind of a cool thing there when now she has the car to reminder of her brother. Speaking of the ring as well for a sec, it's kind of wild that Stargirl can just straight up not just show it, but like use it over and over again. Whereas, have we actually seen the physical ring in the Arrowverse yet? Like we saw it glowing when Diggle found it, but we haven't actually been allowed to see the genuine ring yet. So it's kind of ridiculous that Stargirl can't just show it, but can use it, make a character out of it, and like name drop Green Lantern. Now it's got all of that. Whereas they're like, no, sorry Diggle, you can't talk about that yet. You gotta wait. That'll come later. It's a little bit frustrating, but I mean the quality in this show is so good you can't even be mad at it. We got a little cool reference to Baron Blitzkrieg, who is in the comics was responsible for killing the character Red Bee, who also was name dropped last season. So it's kind of cool that they're like alluding to so much of a history of heroes there and a history of villains. I love how this show does this. We have more of a setup for Isaac Bowen, who was the son of the Fiddler from last season, if you don't remember, and they kind of like focused on him last episode, and then again they gave him a little bit like focus, as in the camera was on him for a second longer than it normally would be to kind of emphasize this character is kind of important or will be important later. Same thing happened here where we got one tiny little bit where the character was focused on for like 5 seconds, and that's more than any side character, just to kind of let you know this character is going to be important later on, or you need to keep an eye on this character. So that was really good. The Alonda and Courtney stuff in summer school was great as well. I thought it's interesting how Rick is just kind of like not gonna go to school at all, I guess, but I love the pancake scene between Yolanda and Courtney and all that, and honestly I just love the dynamic between the whole JSA. Now I think they're really well. I was really worried this whole Courtney not trusting Jade or not trusting Jenny thing was gonna last for like half the season, but they wrapped that up very fast. Like by the end of the episode we kind of had solidified where both of those characters stand with each other, and I'm happy they did that. I was worried they were going to just brush past that. I want to talk about the new villain who's come to Blue Valley, who is Richard Swift, aka The Shade. Now when he first showed up, I thought the actor was going to be Count Vertigo from season 3 of Arrow, the guy who was the new Count Vertigo in season 3 of Arrow. It just looked like him from behind, but no, it's an English dude. I just gotta say, I'm really into this villain already. They made him really interesting in a very small amount of time. He's such a goofy character, and they're making it work so well. Like, just the way he talks is so interesting and so different. And I like how the scene where Pat was kind of testing out words. Like, he probably had suspicions that this was the Shade, but it was when he went to meet him, it solidified, okay, this is the Shade. Because when he heard Richard Swift, he was like, that name sounds kind of familiar. Then he shows up at the diner, notices the staff or the walking stick that Swift has, and he's like, okay, this is the Shade. And I like that cool little playoff where the two characters are sitting across from each other, kind of like testing each other sort of thing. And I'm wondering if Swift knows that Pat Dugan is Stripesy, or if he's like, Pat Dugan, that sounds familiar, or if he's like, this guy looks like Stripesy did. And then when Pat went back home, he checked his notes and he confirmed that it is in fact the Shade. Now one thing I was also really happy that this episode dealt with head on was that when Courtney was coming down and was like, look Pat, okay, Stargirl's not going to be first in my life anymore, Courtney Whitmore is going to come first, Stargirl will come second if there's a villain that shows up. I was really worried Pat was going to go, okay, Courtney has finally moved on, I'm not going to bring up that the Shade is here. I'm not going to bring up that Richard Swift is here. I'm going to just try and deal with this myself and hope nothing happens. But no, he just straight up said to her, the last ISA villain is here in Blue Valley. And Courtney immediately is like, okay, I'm Stargirl again. So I really like they did that, and they didn't just kind of, gloss over that and then in a couple episodes have it come back to bite Pat in the ass when the Shade is turns out to be a proper threat. One thing that was a little bit weird was that Pat said that the Shade is the last member of the ISA unaccounted for. But the thing is, we know the Gambler's still out there because he kind of got away at the end of last season. We also know that Solomon Grundy's still out there because Rick let him go. So I wonder if by unaccounted for he means last villain they haven't seen in a while, they don't know where the hell they are, or just last villain that hasn't been captured. Because if they mean hasn't been captured, there's a few still out there that we haven't dealt with yet this season. So I'm interested on that. The side plot of this episode was very much focused on Eclipso and on Cindy and that. And Cindy's not in control. Okay, she thinks she's in control, but Eclipso is playing her for some reason that we're going to find out. And I'm really interested to see what that reason is. I also think Cindy needs to get her comeuppance. So I'm alright with Eclipso just, doing his thing and kind of fucking everybody over. But he's voiced by Nick Tarby, aka Captain Boomerang from Arrow, so that's pretty damn cool. It's very noticeable in the voice. If you listen out for it, you're like, yeah, that's Digger Harkness, alright. But Cindy's stepmom has had a terrible last couple of years. I feel so bad for that character. She finally thought she got out at the beginning of the episode, and then immediately her life just is destroyed. So that kind of was unfortunate for her. Yeah, once again, this was a really good episode. We've got a lot of good directions that the show is going in. I'm really interested to see how the season plays out. I also just love how fast the plot moves along in this episode. Like, it doesn't feel rushed. It just feels like there's no time wasted. Like, everything is important, and that characters are always brought back. When you think something's not going to be brought up for a while, it's immediately brought up. It's just done very well, and it feels like such a prestige HBO comic book show, and I really do appreciate that. But how did you feel about the episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and all of that, and I hope you have a great day.